What's up, YouTubers and the world? I use aftermarket catalytic converters all day long here, and some of these guys out here are saying that if you change your catalytic converter with an aftermarket part and you still get a check engine light, let's see if I can find some of this stuff, that you can use a spark plug non-fouler to trick the catalytic converter trouble code into thinking that it's fixed. Well, I don't have to do that to the aftermarket cats that I use. Sometimes it's the product that's the issue, but most of the time it's the lack of correcting the reason why you have a PO420 in the first place. So most people go, it needs a catalytic converter. Okay, why does it need a catalytic converter? Is the substrate cracked and overheated? Is the pieces inside the converter clogged, or they coat it with oil? Does your engine burn oil? Has it had a tune-up? Is it consuming antifreeze? Is it a bad oxygen sensor? Does it have a misfire on start that's slight enough that the engine control module doesn't pick it up, and then it clears up as soon as it gets a little temperature in it? Many factors into why catalytic converter fails. But if you don't correct the root cause or take steps to prevent that from happening, like a proper diagnostic, a spark plug pull, a leak down test, oxygen sensor verification, fuel filters, fuel injection services, GDI services, oil consumption problems, aftermarket cats cannot handle anything more than the minimum amount of emission standards that they put into that converter for this type of vehicle. So an aftermarket catalytic converter, right? They put the minimum amount of precious materials in there. And here's a prime example of an aftermarket catalytic converter on this vehicle right here, with no check engine light. Is it monitored? I don't think so on this car, but just proof that there's plenty of them out there, even on vehicles that have monitor converters. Is what I do. There's my whole shelf of all universal cats. I stock very minimal direct fit cats, but they are aftermarket. And if you get a car back after a universal cat or even an aftermarket direct fit assembly put on, it's very unlikely, but it is possible that the converter is not loaded properly, and I've come across that a handful of times. And then on top of that, if you use the right catalytic converter, say aftermarket converter is 60 bucks, I'm going to tell you the precious metals in there are not enough to cure an efficiency problem. Some of these newer Ford trucks, the catalytic converter that costs me a universal part is $400 to keep the cat efficiency light out. So if you're buying cheap products, like I said, they're cheap for a reason. Either they're blend products or they already know that there's not enough precious metals in there to satisfy the program for cat efficiency. But then again, if you're not fixing the root cause of why you have cat efficiency, then you're always going to be plagued with that. An OEM catalytic converter has excessive loading inside there, so guess what? They don't have a check engine light come on in 60,000 miles, and it's very rare that it does. 60, 80,000. Most commonly you see 100,000 miles for a factory catalytic converter nowadays. But they're under so much abuse with GDI, supercharging, turbocharging, E85 fuels. No one's doing GDI services, no one's doing fuel injection services, no one's maintaining their cars, and that's why you can't get over 100,000 miles out of most OEM converters today. It's not because they're not putting enough material in it, it's just the engines are so harsh on the emissions today, and that's the way it is. But I use universal cats all day long. Very minimal problems, but when a customer comes in, I say, hey, when's it been tuned up? It hasn't. You need a tune-up. GDI service hasn't been done, need it. Pull an air filter, it's fucking disgusting. So that just tells me what's going on inside the engine already, on top of not knowing if it consumes oil, which I pull the oil stick almost on every car that I'm diagnosing or is here for a catalytic converter or for a simple oil change. I need to know if I'm getting set up. If this engine's burning 2 quarts of oil, how long is the spark plug going to last? How long is the catalytic converter going to last? It's not, and it's an instant comeback. So if you have a bad heart, right, you're gonna pass away at some point in time. Either you have to change your diet, get on your medication, relieve your stress. You have to take steps to make it better, and your engine's the same way. Well, unfortunately for heart replacement, an engine's the same way. Engine replacement, cylinder heads, injectors, You have to fix the root cause of why you're getting a cat efficiency code, and kind of the same reason as why people have heart disease. You know, it could be genetics, but then again, it could just be diet. And today's vehicles are on poor diets, in my opinion. Thanks for watching.